My question is, so I asked you, like, hold on. Okay, so my question is, in the 1930s, people had a certain brain volume that they said was normal for its time. And in the by the time it reached that was in the 1930s, but by the time it reached the 1970s, they say that people were born with larger brain volumes that increased by 6.6%. So does it make sense to assume that it's possible that that could be a DNA upgrade from extraterrestrials?
It's not an assumption. The thing is that nowadays there's a lot of scientific uncoverings. I was just looking for a scroll that we have. Yeah, actually, I left it next door. The designer genes, yeah, where what the master's showing you. Remember that they've been digging up fossils and taking, skeletons and looking at brain sizes and all these kind of things for a very long time. It's not so much the size of the cranium or the brain. It's more about the activation of the parts of the brain that you can use or not use, or utilize or not utilize. So you know that when you say extraterrestrials, Pana Babyanun is an extraterrestrial, and by you absorbing and learning this information, what it does is it activates different parts of your brain that have not been utilized for a long time. It's almost like people go to the gym and they want to make, for example, make their biceps or certain muscles bigger and stronger. So they're gonna push weights to kind of grow that muscle. It's the same with your brain, too, with your brain in terms of exercising it, to be able to use more of it. Meaning, like, the way the brain works is by sending messages along pathways, right? So it's based on neurons, and we will refer to this as neuron pathways, yeah? Meaning that you're opening more and more gateways for information to be received. It's like the term bus, right? When I say bus, I don't mean a vehicle. I'm saying if you look at a computer system and you were to look at what we call the motherboard, you will have what we call buses or lanes that information and transistors, they send in signals and messages through. Okay, let me make it simple. It's like a motorway, right, where you have lanes. And in the UK, for example, compared to the USA, what we call the motorway, they obviously call the highways, right? You may have 3 lanes, right? But in certain parts of America, or even some parts in the UK now, you can have like 6 lanes on one side, because obviously traffic goes in both directions. The same way as when I'm talking about the buses on a computer system, you're sending information, but the more bandwidth you have, the more information you can send down that road, for example. So if you had one lane, the traffic would be jammed, because everybody would wait. If there's something at the front, like an accident or whatever, you only have one lane. But if you have 6 lanes, you're moving the traffic much quicker. So the same way with your brain, you have these pathways where neurons are communicating, between the synapses. And then what happens is that if you haven't been using a part of your brain, because the brain has been studied to the point where they map every reaction or something you do to which part of your brain, they can actually put colors and lights to say, if you're studied, say if you're using your brain for arithmetic or doing maths, they can monitor and see which part of your brain is doing that. So with more information that you've never come across, it opens up more and more ability or access for you to receive more. So it's not something that you can do all at once, because you can actually overload or damage your brain. So this is why there's a process of, it's like a child. You can't feed a child solid food immediately when they're born, when they're not ready for that. So you have to give them, baby food, then they grow teeth, and then you can start to give them, more solids. It's the same with your brain. Like the amount of information, he started writing the small scrolls, and then when people started to read, because most people weren't reading, okay, so then you had to learn to start reading, and then when you started to read, you started to open up, more access to your brain capacity or power. So now we're living in what people know since the year 2000 as the information age, and a lot of people are overloaded with information, and a lot of it is it's not useful information. So they store too much junk, or they have what people refer to as junk DNA. All right, the scientists and the kind of mainstream will say junk DNA because they don't really know how to access it or what it does. So the more you exercise your brain by studying, by reading, by analyzing, by that's what I was saying at the beginning, by being a part of the learning process, by reasoning. You don't just read things and just read it for the sake of it. You analyze and you try to reason it out till it makes sense. So yes, to answer your question, he is an extraterrestrial, and with more information and more technology and more knowledge that you're now able to absorb, your brain is actually developing, and that's the point. To get to a point where eventually you will start to use more than 10% of it. And they actually showed you this in a movie called Lucy, where the more intelligent she got, and another movie called Limitless, the more they use their
I
brain.
know those two movies.
Yes, it shows you how the brain capacity was then being more and more utilized. It's not like your head was getting any bigger. It's just you're now accessing more of your brain than the 10 or less percent that most people are currently doing.
So you mean, to answer my question, the answer is yes.
Yes,
Extraterrestrials are giving us a DNA upgrade. That's why our brain volume has increased.
not all extraterrestrials. This is what I'm saying. Some extraterrestrials are dumbing you down because they're hiding information from you, and they are making you use computers and AI and other things without you being a part of the process. So, for example, when we were in school, right, we used to do arithmetic without calculators, you see, and over time, the generations afterwards, they were allowed, you couldn't use a calculator for your exam and things like that in maths. But as time went on, they introduced computers and these calculators, and children and people stopped using their mind and their brain. So these extraterrestrials, that some technology that's been introduced, it's not it's designed for you to, if you don't have control over it, it takes control over you. That's what I mean by you have to be in control or be actively involved with it. So like those calculators have evolved to like tablets, to smartphones, and now AI. People that are smart, they still use their discernment in situations where you're utilizing technology. For example, a sat nav, that's technology, right? Because they're using satellites to help you navigate to find your way to where you're going. But would you just sit in the car and allow the sat nav to malfunction and take you and over, do you know what I mean, over a cliff? That's not using your sense in a way that you're actively involved. So even though you know where it's going, you're watching the the graphic that shows you where you're going, and it shows you you're going to go off a cliff, and you still sit there and allow it to do it. It's like, I don't understand. Sometimes people don't use their own powers and abilities. They just let technology override everything. It's like you want to cross the road, right? You have the traffic lights and cars are coming from both directions. You wait for at the pedestrian crossing, then the little green man comes on for you to cross the road. Are you telling me that if that malfunctioned and you were waiting to cross the road, no cars are coming, you're going to wait there for, let's say, half an hour, and don't cross the road because you're waiting for the green man, even though there aren't any cars coming for over? That's showing you that that's not someone that is utilizing their brain power or capacity. So what I'm saying is, all technology is not good for you. And some technology, you have to utilize it. Don't say, I've got a smartphone, so now I'm not going to be smart. That's not being smart. Yeah, because the phone is smart doesn't mean you should stop being smart. And some people allow the phone to become smarter than them because they completely rely on the smartphone. It's the same thing now with AI. People should learn to use AI to the point where they are giving the AI the prompts to deliver what they want, not allowing the AI to just do everything for them. I hope you're following my point.
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Right.
But something else I want to know, like, so the study, it showed that they did the study on Caucasians. So they said that a lot of Caucasians, they were born with a larger brain volume in the 1970s and onwards. So that shows that these upgrades aren't only for Negroid people. DNA upgrades from extraterrestrials, well, certain extraterrestrials are for Caucasians as well, and other groups of people.
That's misinformation. This is what I'm saying. Like, you say they say. You know me. I always ask you who's the they say, because when people say they say, they're basically accepting whatever reports or research or something that somebody says as if it's completely true and factual, when we know that misinformation or the dissemination of incorrect or wrong information is part of the plot. So I know that the study you're referring to, and I think I'm trying to find if it's in this scroll where the master teacher explains and breaks down. I don't think it's this one, but he breaks down. I'm going to look through to see if I can find. He breaks down.
I think it starts with an F, the Framingham study.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Just because they say so doesn't mean it's accurate and true. And it's let me see if I can find it, because the master broke it down in the scroll, explaining. Oh, here you go. This is the scroll I'm looking for. This scroll is called the Designer Genes. Yeah? And I'm gonna, if you haven't got hold of this, you should, because it explains, just see, I'm trying to find which part I want to read from. Okay, listen to this. Right, this is the Master Secrets, and it's called the Designer Genes. All right? Pa Rasam Ur Yakhasat. 1. And this talks about the DAF 1220, right? 1220 Pa Rasam Ur Yakhas Kawun DAF 1220. The designer gene is DAF 1220. 2. DAF 1220 is the mystery of primate brain expansion, right? This is what you're talking about. 3. The Muthathalu extraterrestrials use it to make a kind of man in their own Shaba image, like them, yet who would never mentally grow, right, older than Pa Akal, the mind of a 13-year-old. Yeah? So this is what the master is explaining, that these extraterrestrials, they're using the DAF 1220, right, to make a kind of man that was in their own image, and like them, yet he would never mentally grow older than the mind of a 13-year-old. So let's carry on. 4. The smartest of the Kuradu simians only have par akal, the mind of a 3 to 6-year-old. 5. The simian or monkeys have 48 chromosomes. That 48 chromosomes is equal to the planet, Project Sector 24, or 24 plus 24, 48. 6. So 24 plus 24 equals 48 chromosomes of the simians grown on this Mikab planet, who become the ape man, chimpanzee, and others. 7. It was to control Pardama, the brain, to make this new kind of Zazaz, man, a primitive worker as a chimpanzee and can use tool. 8. Once the Muthathalu extraterrestrials mixed their own 46 chromosomes to match the new axis of the Mikab, the planet 23 degrees, you had 23 plus 23 equals 46 chromosomes. 9. And the outcome of the simians, 48, and Mukma'u, the Pleiadians, right? These are the extraterrestrials we're talking about, 46. With the Anunnaki's 47 chromosomes was a savant person with the mind of all three and often undeveloped physical actions. 10. The mind of the simian is a 3 to 6 year old par akal, the mind of the Pleiadian, a wicked evil, Muthathalu extraterrestrial. 11. The result was a Rasamur Yakhas designer gene called now DAF 1220. Now that they have knowledge of genomes, right, and on this second page, I'm going to show you, I don't know if you picked that up, but this is the diagram showing you the different sizes of skulls, okay, that were found. And I carry on. Known Earth names, naming each of the Yakasa genes of the genome and the helix, naming things able to speak. 12. There is a misconception. This is the bit I was telling you about. There is a misconception that the larger the brain, the higher the intelligence, which actually is incorrect. All right? And it shows you the various sizes craniums that have been uncovered. 13. The higher intelligence is dependent upon the increased number of neurons. This is what I was saying to you, in the Dhamma brain. 14. For example, primates have more neurons than non-primates. 15. The DAF 1220 domain is made up of 65 amino acids and is located in a certain part of the first chromosome. This encoding was found in most duplicated in 140 genes showing human lineage specific, that's HLS, gain or loss. And this next diagram here goes into showing you the different, types of beings like mammals and sort of birds, etc., rabbits, rodents, the orangutan, and then the human, the chimpanzee. Again, just put that so you can look at it. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to read the whole scroll, but I'll carry on for a little bit more, where it shows you that yet the number of changes in copy and most extreme were found to be due to sequences encoding the DAF 1220. There are many more copies of DAF 1220 encoded in the human genome compared to the genome of any other Sanafu species. 19. Humans have approximately 270 copies, much more than the great apes, who have between 90 to 120 copies. Monkeys have 25 to 40 copies, and especially prosimians and non-primate mammals. 20. Approximately 160 copies of the DAF 1220 were added specifically to the human genome approximately 5 to 6 million years ago. This expansion relates to an average of 28 copies added specifically to the human genome every million years since this time. Yeah, so I mean, you have to read the whole of this scroll to understand that, yeah, this is by design in terms of what extraterrestrials were doing to keep certain beings, especially the Adamite race. That's what I'm saying to you. So when they're saying these things, right, the Adamite race, it was programmed that they will never get older than a 13-year-old, yeah, compared to other races. And yeah, so read the whole of this because I know there are many people waiting with questions, and you've been on for a while, so that goes into it in more detail in terms of. That's why we say to you when you say planet, you're literally saying plan ET, which is an extraterrestrial plan, and their involvement in what they've done in terms of manipulating DNA and the genes of the beings on the planet. So when you look at everyone, not everyone is the same, even though you may look, the same. You're not actually the same genetically.